Hey guys, my name is Miska and welcome to Overwatch Central. We're doing another one of these kind of unscripted animated videos. Someone said that the script was really good for the last one, and just to let you know, I don't do scripts for almost any of my videos anymore, but at least these animated ones, I just let myself sort of ramble on. Either way, today I wanted to actually talk about Hero 31. At this point, a lot of people on YouTube and Reddit and stuff are talking about Hero 31. And I realized going back in old videos that ever since after Orisa, I've been wanting new tank characters that do cool new stuff. And we haven't really gotten that. We got Hammond, who is honestly more of like a DPS off-tank type of character rather than a main tank or even really a tank of any sort. Like, he has a lot of HP and that's about it. He has a lot of HP and he kinda does the same disrupting job that Winston does to some degree, but it's just not really the same thing. I played so much Orisa and Reinhardt that I figured talking about what could be good for the next main tank in a video like this could work well, because I can visualize kind of what I'm talking about as I'm presenting it. So this video is obviously assuming that the next character is a tank. It's a pretty damn good guess at this point, judging from what Jeff Kaplan has said in the past. And since I've been thinking about this a bit, I've always been attacking it from the topic of what do we currently have in the main tank roster and what does a new tank need to do, rather than thinking about individual abilities first, because I feel like you easily get lost in just, fantasy rather than anything that might actually be useful. First off, Orisa is incredibly powerful right now, and it's because she can essentially do the job that Reinhardt can do, but just in a much more effective, versatile way. With abilities such as Fortify and Halt, you have so many more options, and that's the first thing I want out of a new tank character. Just a lot of abilities that actually allow for a fairly high skill ceiling character, because the tanks can often get stuck in having to play and rely a whole lot on their team to the point where they can't really have a lot of individual actions. They have to just do everything with the team, and it can make things incredibly frustrating, and I don't think you can just fully replace that. You do need these core characters like Orisa and Reinhardt and such to fill those roles of playing with the team almost the entire time. But we've seen Blizzard be fairly innovative with support and what they've been able to do there, with Ana just after release and of course Baptiste more recently especially. Those characters are just very, very high skill ceiling heroes that I feel like we should model more characters after. Obviously the main thing people think about when they think main tank is shield. A lot of people call the main tanks shield tanks in ranked, I've noticed, especially in ranks where you don't really have a full composition as much, but rather have those key characters that you feel like you always need. And one thing that's often pointed out is, oh, we need either Reinhardt or Orisa. Winston is not really the same, or it can be difficult to play around, but Rein and Orisa are so key because of their shields and the way that they allow the team to play together like that. I would love for something that is able to pull that same thing off, of grouping the team together, putting up a barrier and allowing to push forward, whilst not being so stuck with either a shield cooldown or just holding a right mouse button up. It would be fantastic to have some sort of ability that allows you to project a shield of some sort in front of you whilst still being able to act as your own hero at the same time. So think like a combination of Reinhardt and Orisa, but in way more of a dynamic way that actually allows you to move around properly, position yourself better, but most primarily act on your own a little bit. So what we saw in the manga comic, or rather what we read in there, it was described as more of a shield mode and a gun mode. He didn't really do both at once. That sounds cool and all, but I feel like that's gonna be way more of an off-tank type of job. I feel like it could still work, it could still be really cool if you have to swap between those two modes and you have a deflection shield that you can still use aggressively, but something that allows you to combine those two would be even cooler. This is kind of what I've had in mind. Imagine Orisa and Reinhardt, right? So you press kind of like a cooldown to put that shield out, and when your shield is out, so imagine like an Orisa shield, you could move it around in front of you to deflect damage, or at least protect your team from damage in an even better way by aiming at the damage source, or just things like that that would then reduce the damage. That would be incredibly cool. I don't think I have seen that in any other game that I've played, at least as like a sort of tank role. And obviously I don't think having like a 2000 HP Reinhardt barrier and a sort of ability like that, or passive ability on your shield, would be balanced. That would probably be way too strong. But I'm sure there are ways to tweak that, where you can have a shield up and then you just aim at the damage source that you want to take less damage from. So maybe the people in front front of you aren't shooting your shield much because they have, I don't know, a Reinhardt and then some short range stuff, but maybe there's a Hanzo and Junkrat that are like flanking or at least a little bit above those people, and if you aim at them, your shield does, I don't know, some sort of smart calculation, figuring out what gun and ammo they use, and then is able to protect yourself and your team better from those damage types. Just some sort of logic about how it would make sense lore-wise there. I don't even know why I care about that, but whatever. That idea of having just a high skill ceiling shielding ability sounds awesome to me, and I just want anything that makes the tank play a bit more active like that. I don't really have a problem with holding down left mouse on Orisa and then trying to get headshots when people get close and nice pulls and all that stuff and being ready with 4 to 5 Rein charges, but just something that makes that whole shield play a bit more exciting, especially if you're playing very tank heavy, spam heavy comps, would be really cool to see. The next thing on my list has to do with that deflecting part. So that part from the comic I really liked when I read it. I hadn't really thought too much about having a deflecting shield. So the first idea about having a shield and taking less damage from the source you're aiming from sounds cool, but I do like the deflecting part a lot, as that would almost take that whole thing the next step further. The only problem I really have with that is that it seems like it would be incredibly annoying to actually play against, and if you don't do that part well, or maybe put that deflecting function of the shield on a cooldown, you're probably gonna run into a whole lot of issues. Imagine running up against a Reinhardt and Genji hybrid where the guy with the shield just randomly starts deflecting shit back at you. Like, that would just be insanely frustrating. Imagine you have your Zarya go, alright, I'm gonna grab the team, guys, and then he grabs into the main tank and the main tank just deflects the whole grab back at you. Yeah, there would just have to be like a lot of tweaking and clever thinking there, because that character could totally get very out of hand very quickly. I don't know if we actually saw much or anything of Mauga's shield at all, or yeah, we only really had it described. But from what I gathered from the comic, I got much more of the vibe of imagining like a sort of Brig off-tank with a slightly bigger shield, maybe double Brig shield in front of him, able to do kind of what Zarya does with a bubble, being a little bit more aggressive and getting some charge from it. But instead of getting that charge as Zarya, you're just deflecting things back for a little bit, and then you can switch back to your double machine gun mode, which I feel like would be much more a hybrid of Orisa's gun and the Hammond weapon. So imagine like 2 Orisa guns that deal a bit less damage with an overheat function. That's the sort of stuff that I at least envisioned from the description of Mauga. And as much as that sounds cool to have those 2 modes, personally, I'm a little bit against that, because it puts the tank in that awkward role of not really being a main tank again. We already had that with Hammond, where you're either rolling around or you're stomping on the enemy team. Zarya is a great off-tank, but I don't feel like what we need is another off-tank. We need main tank options, or just tank options that are at least main tanky enough to provide more hybrid composition and just combinations of heroes. Something that allows for this new tank to play together with, I don't know, maybe like a Zarya or a D.Va, and then it's not just a Winston D.Va replacement, it's a new style of composition. When Brigitte came out, I remember Jeff Kaplan saying specifically at an event that I was at Blizzard HQ, I think a bunch of those videos went live pretty much the same day, where he said that the new hero will be meta changing for sure. And I mean, Brig definitely was, maybe not in a very positive way, but all of a sudden we had Goat's comp that was just ridiculously strong, and I'm not saying that I want that again, I definitely don't, but a character that allows for the entire game to change up a little bit is still what I think Overwatch kind of needs, which is why I also just want more heroes added to the game for more diversity and more versatility in compositions. And I'm not gonna lie, saying this, I feel like people are already typing comments right now saying, what do you mean you want a 3-3 comp again, or like a 2-3-1 comp or something? No, it's not all about the roles specifically, it's more about what the composition does. It shouldn't just be a Reinhardt replacement, or like a better version of Winston or Orisa for that matter either. It should be a new style of main tank that allows for different play, or at least allows for very different compositions, and maybe even cool combinations with ultimates and just other characters' cooldowns. I remember back before Sombra came out, I actually made a video called Sombra, what abilities should she have, or something like that, and talking a lot about how there weren't really any hero disables in Overwatch. Back then I drew a lot of connections to Dota 2, talking about which type of abilities we have there, and that's something that also I think can be done in this case. Blizzard have so many options to make new characters. There are games with over 100 heroes or champions out there that still do incredibly well and do really cool things. which is why I'm very positive towards this new tank experience, because I think they can really pull something awesome off here. And if it's not a tank, I don't know what I'll do, honestly. I've been waiting for years for another tank. It's just gotta be one at this point. I do want to finish off though with talking about guns, or just weapons, I guess, for characters. If you think about it right now, most of the weapons in Overwatch, or at least ways to deal damage by default with just the character's damaging ability, are either very close range and spammy, like shotguns and Reinhardt's melee and things like that, or you have the super long range hit scan stuff that's able to work at a lot of different ranges, and then you have some specialists kinda in there as well, such as Symmetra and Junkrat. Overwatch seems to work a lot with those more traditional style of weapons for the most part. I would love to see something that's more of like a railgun, so it would kind of act like a shotgun in the way that it would be one shot and then it would take a little bit for the next one, but it wouldn't just be Roadhog super close range thing. I'm thinking maybe like a sort of mid-range railgun, that sort of stuff. It doesn't do loads of damage, but if you're consistent enough with the shots in between, you do get some damage in. I'm thinking kind of the same range as a Roadhog right click, but just a little bit more precise, not like a wide spread, and then obviously a bit less damage than a max range Roadhog shot, because that would just be really OP if it matched that damage too and was more precise. But yeah, something that's like that. I'll try and maybe find an example to put on screen, or at least try and describe it a little bit. I just think there's a lot of options with sort of cool mid-range different types of weapons that they haven't really explored as much as they could be doing. Imagine if the Zarya left click beam was more of like a shotgun style single shot quick damage beam. That's kind of what I have in mind. Oh, and before I forget, anti-CC abilities. Holy shit, listen, please, that would be fantastic to see in more than just one character. Currently it's basically just Orisa that has something like Fortify, something that actually gives her protection against the number one thing that a tank is really scared of, which is CC. And with Fortify, you're able to do so much because of it. I think maybe something that's more of like a, oh, you can avoid it if you time it correctly. Maybe it's got a really low cooldown, but the active ability for that anti-CC is a super short window. So if you see like a McCree getting close on the enemy team and you think you're gonna get stunned, you can press it and match that window up. And that again would be another sort of way to put a higher skill ceiling on a character. I think that would be awesome. Say that your shield is just broken or is not up as that tank, you see a Roadhog hook coming in and you can actually physically react to that and counter that. More abilities like that I think is exactly what Overwatch needs, together with just more characters and just generally main tanks. We only have like 3 to pick from. There's only ever 2 that are ever meta, so you're basically stuck playing 2 characters if you're ever playing main tank in Overwatch. And I think most main tank players kind of just hate themselves enough to go through with it. But at this point I'm kind of done just spamming 2 characters over and over again. I just don't feel like Blizzard have an excuse anymore. Come on, we just need more of these awesome tank characters. Hopefully all of that made any sort of sense. I just really wanted to talk about what I want out of a tank player after I played, I don't know, 500 hours of Orisa and Rein combined? Probably more, honestly, I have no idea. It's a lot of time since October 2015 that I've spent playing these heroes. And back then it was just Reinhardt and Winston basically too. Anyway, that's it. Let me know what you think. I'm sure you will either way. That's what you guys kind of do. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and yeah, I'll try and make more of these animated sort of videos, or at least kind of keep them somewhat regular, but they do take a long ass time to make in comparison to our normal sort of turnaround and our normal process for making videos. So yeah, can't promise anything, but I'll try my best. Alright, thanks for watching, I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.